Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for joining me here on a Monday. It's 6:06 a.m. Fathers, the time is now. Don't allow your daughters to compete against biological men in sports. Refuse. Walk your daughter out. Boycott. Tell fathers to do the same. Men, you have to stand up for women. I know. I know. You have to. You have to. That we are coming to a point right now where women are being eradicated, erased from society by trans men. And I got to do more digging into this story, and hopefully, we're going to get to it here a little bit later. I, I don't know, folks. I think that he's a man. This guy, he's got $100 million bond, and he's set for charges. But they're calling him a woman, and I don't understand. He looks like a man in the mugshot. The Panagraph is reporting this. A Bloomington woman facing predatory criminal sexual assault charges. And in the article, you read through it, they refer to, I believe, him. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the mugshot. There's no way this guy isn't a man. But the Panagraph is reporting that he's a woman facing multiple sexual assault charges. 33 years old, 5 counts of predatory criminal sexual assault, Class X felonies involving a victim under the age of 13. The McLean County grand jury returned a bill of indictment charging Michelle Blessant this past Wednesday. And the bond was set for $1 million, so with 10% plus fees required in order to be released from the McLean County jail. He was also ordered, and I'm saying he because he looks like a man. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't think so. And I don't understand why the Slantergraph and why other news in Bloomington Normal and beyond, I mean, people are reporting on this Bloomington woman, and I'm using air quotes here, facing predatory charges. The guy looks like a man. I mean, I think this is a man. I don't know. His arraignment is going to be held on April 28th. And the circumstances behind the incident remain under investigation by the Bloomington Police Department. So, yeah, this is a concerning story. We're going to get into it here a little bit later. I've got a packed show for you. Whew, I mean, so much to get into. Elon Musk dropping this bombshell about the government and how they're controlling you during this Tucker Carlson interview. Now, the Tucker Carlson interview, I think, is going to air tonight and tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Also, next, if you ever thought MSNBC would eventually run out of new ways to beclown themselves, you were wrong. At least so far. They're not running out of ways to beclown themselves. This MSNBC garbage fake news outlet. They've got this ridiculous take on this Florida ban. It's a ban on abortion after 6 weeks. And I'm not kidding you. MSNBC comes out and they say that this ban on abortion of 6 weeks, right? You can't have an abortion after 6 weeks. Carefully, they had selected this guest, which isn't shocking to me. There's this guest that MSNBC has on, and they're declaring that this restriction that Florida just passed on abortion, because after the Dobbs decision, after that case, it gives it back to the states. And this guest on the MSNBC show, whatever show this is, they say it's a death sentence for women. Are you kidding me right now? I thought they were running out of ways to beclown themselves. I was totally wrong, at least so far. So we're going to get into that here on the Morning Buzz. But first, I do really want to talk about the truth and how the truth about about the American war currently being waged in Ukraine, because this is our war. This is not Ukraine's war. It's our war. And the documents that this guy released and exposed prove that. And these documents were recently exposed by a gamer. Like literally a video gamer who has a Discord account, and he's been since arrested by the feds. And I want to look into the truth about what he He exposed the truth for exactly what it is. Let's take a listen here. Here we go.
I'm joined today by Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco and FBI Director Paula Bate. Today, the Justice Department arrested Jack Douglas Teixeira in connection with an investigation into alleged unauthorized removal, retention, and transmission of classified national defense information. Teixeira is an employee of the United States Air Force National Guard. FBI agents took Teixeira into custody earlier this afternoon without incident. He will have an initial appearance at the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts. I want to thank the FBI, Justice Department prosecutors, and our colleagues at the Department of Defense for their diligent work on this case. This investigation is ongoing. We will share more information at the appropriate time.
So, the Ukraine leaker, Jack Teixeira, he's 21 years old. He's an Air National Guardsman out of Massachusetts. Now, I want to explain what's going on and what we should make of this. Is leaking corruption a moral good? Is leaking corruption a moral good? And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, you can see me in the studio. You can see everything that I'm playing, all of the documents that I'm using. You can check that out on Facebook and YouTube Live. If you're watching there, you can comment. And I'm asking the question, is leaking corruption a moral good? And you can text in 309-451-9299. Now, the government is coming down, and they're coming down hard as far as I've seen. And I know that this regime is going to come down hard on this 21-year-old Jack Teixeira. We haven't seen anything like this. We haven't seen the regime come down as hard as they have on somebody like Jack Teixeira, on a leaker, in years past. And let me just give you a couple examples. Number one, we did not see this or anything even remotely close to this. We still don't know who the Dobbs leaker is. The Dobbs leaker, the person who leaked the decision of the Supreme Court in this Dobbs case, where it gives it back to the states to decide where they want to be at on abortion, what kind of restrictions that they want to place on it. And you didn't see this regarding the leaks of Alexander Vindman. He himself was leaking top secret information, negotiations between Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, President Trump, and President Zelensky. And Alexander Vindman, we remember, he was selectively leaking, and he was even putting false leaks out there, things that were just totally not true. And he was leaking out false information. And he was trying to do this, of course, because he wanted Trump to look bad, and he wanted to make it look like Trump was doing something corrupt. He hadn't done anything corrupt. As Trump would say, it was the perfect phone call. Perfect phone call. Yes, it was a perfect phone call. People within the government, they leak all of the time. So what's so different about this? What's so different here? Because they leak all of the time. They do it every day. What's the difference here? Well, this 21-year-old Jack Teixeira, he totally embarrassed them. He showed the truth about what is actually going on in Ukraine. And I get it. He might not be in the military anymore, and he might even do some time for this. But did this kid prevent World War III? I'm just saying. He might not be in the military. And as for us as a people, as a populace, right, we don't want our kids going to fight in World War III when our leaders themselves know that this war is a total sham. It's a total sham. And they're just throwing money at it. They're throwing money at it, and the bodies are stacking up. And Biden and General Milley, they read these briefings every single day. Now, the leaks themselves, what this 21-year-old leaked, was information and briefings that I think he did have access to, right? These are documents that he had access to, being an Air National Guardsman, and he just did the thing where he leaked them because they're lying to the American people about the war in Ukraine. So he leaked them, And General Milley, Joe Biden, they turn around, they lie to you, and they say it's all roses, it's butterflies and kittens over in Ukraine. They're really the ones who are going to be winning this war. The Ukraine, we have to support the war. No, the bodies are stacking up. Ukraine is not doing well. Ukraine's not doing well, and we need to stop funding the war like we have been because it's not working. And they're lying to people, and people are dying. That's what Biden, General Milley, they get these briefings, the same briefings that this kid leaked, and they're lying. They're turning around, and they're not telling you what's in those briefings. So what do? They go after the 21-year-old gamer who had the Discord account and the gamer who exposed them. And it boils down to this question. And it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, left, right. It doesn't matter. None of that matters, okay? Are you for the regime or are you with the people? That's the question we need to ask ourselves moving forward, and ask other people. Are you for the regime or are you for we the people? This is a kid who brought forward truth. In my opinion. And we need to start asking ourselves, is the kid someone who brought forward the truth, or is he some sort of foreign agent? What are you going to believe? I understand he could have gone about it a different way, blah, 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 and the news is going to make it to where, we talk about the leak itself and not the actual, or like the action of the leak, and not what's it within the leak. Why are we going after the kid when we've got lies, when we have proof that Joe Biden and General Milley are lying to the American people? I understand he could have been a totally different way, but when somebody blows the whistle this big and presents lies about a war that the government is lying about to the American people, I hope that Congress would qualify him for whistleblower protection. I think that that's our next move going forward, and I call on our Congress members, right? I would hope that Darren LaHood, right, call him today and ask him about giving this kid whistleblower protection. I would like to see. I would also like to know, too. Ask Darren LaHood this question. Ask your Congress people this question. Are these leaked briefings, are they the same briefings that the Pentagon is telling Congress? Because there's one briefing that they make for Congress, and then there's one that they get, and then they make for everybody else. So is the Pentagon lying to Congress, and are they completely making up these brand new briefings for Congress? Again, are you on the side of the people, or are you on the side of the regime? They lied about Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. Does it really surprise you that they're lying about Ukraine? It shouldn't, but now we have a 21-year-old gamer who had a Discord account and brought forward the truth. That's the difference here. And remember me telling you this today, April 17th. Remember me telling you this today, that they are going to use this leak on Discord, and this 21-year-old gamer who's embarrassing them, they're going to use it to try to censor you more. I'm not saying he's not going to pay a price for this, folks, but unequivocally, he provided the American people with the truth about a war, and I think that's a moral good, and I think that he should get witness protection. Whistleblower protection. That's what I think. On the other side, speaking of censorship, I think that they are going to start imposing more censorship on you so these leaks don't happen again because, oh man, our national security is in just such jeopardy. Kid exposed lies. On the other side, I do want to talk about Elon dropping this bombshell, a total bombshell about government control during this Tucker Carlson interview that is slated to play this tonight and tomorrow night. They sat down for an interview. This is huge stuff. So a couple clips came out. I'm going to go through them here on the Morning Buzz. Good morning, Larry. Good morning. I think you're all the way in Tennessee. watching via Facebook Live. I think you're in Tennessee. Um, it's freezing here. There's snow on the ground, and it's raining, and it was 80 degrees like just a couple of days ago. Mark, good morning. Good morning. Hey, hey, hey. How are you doing? Agreed. Moral good. Witness protection. Yeah. I think that he should get whistleblower protection. Um, I think that um, he should get some sort of whistleblower protection. Um, Mark is in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Nice to, nice of you to join me. Nice of you to join me. We got so much to cover. I haven't heard what was leaked. So basically, what was leaked, um, well, one little part of it that I remember, and I kind of briefed through, what was in this article. Something that you need to know is that, a lot of times with the media, the mainstream media, they'll come out and they'll say that Ukraine is doing well, that they are actually in pretty much like, lockstep with Russia, where they aren't losing as many men. The one stat that you need to know about within this briefing that was leaked is that this kid said in Ukraine, they've lost 70,000, I think it was, this briefing, and then 70,000 Ukrainian soldiers. And Russia has lost 16,000. Now, take that for what that is. 70,000 versus 16,000. That proves that Ukraine is not doing well. And we are throwing so much money at this, hoping, I guess, maybe that they will start winning. I mean, it's really just a money laundering scheme. That's what it is, and they're lying to people, saying that, oh yeah, we're trying to gain them democracy and we're trying to gain them their freedoms back from Russia. What Russia is doing, it's a tiny little sliver. I think it's on the eastern side of Ukraine, that they are trying to gain control over. And we're wasting so much money to try to go up against the Russians, and it just it doesn't make sense. We've got 70,000 people dead in Ukraine and 16,000 people in Russia. They're compared to their soldiers, and then the mainstream media, Joe Biden, Millie, they'll say that we're toe to toe with Russia, and that we are gaining track. We're not. It's a total bust. That's basically the leaked documents. It shows that Ukraine, the war effort there, is a total bust and they're not winning. And to be dishing out this kind of money for a war that's not going to be won is wrong, and and it's a waste of your money. So that's basically what the leak is. I'll dig more into that there for you, Ken. But yeah, haven't heard what was leaked. One of the stats I know is the 70,000 to 16,000. And that's very important. Coming up, this might be a little controversial. There's been more developments in the Bud Light controversy. It does not mean that I'm going to stop. I used to buy Bud Light for family, right? I used to buy it for people in my life. I don't drink it because I think it's like piss water. It's gross. I drink Coors Light, always have. But I don't know if we should be playing checkers when it comes to this. And I know that Don Trump Jr. recently came out and called for us to stop boycotting, which was interesting. And my gut reaction was like, screw you, Don Trump Jr. I don't understand. I was like, no, we are not playing this game where we bend the knee to people who, just give us money. So Don Trump Jr. demands an end to the Bud Light boycott over partnership with this trans influencer, Dylan Mulvaney, and he praises them for donating more to the GOP than to the Dems. I'm leaving them. I'm leaving them alone. I think you should probably do the same. Same. So that's Don Trump Jr. saying that he's not going to be boycotting them. I'm going to get into it here in a little bit. But hold on. I've got to go grab a cup of coffee. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. And folks, you can see me live in the studio. If you go to YouTube or if you go to Facebook, we stream live here on the Morning Buzz every morning. Get you caught up on the news of the day. There's so much going on, folks. One comment I've got here from Ken. He said, I haven't heard what is actually in the leak. And one thing that I want to point out before moving on to this Elon Musk story, where he totally just a total bombshell. He says that the government is literally controlling us, and this is insane. I'll be talking about Elon Musk here in just a little bit, but I wanted to address Ken here, where he says, I don't know what's in the leak. And it's important to know this one. If anything from the leak, this is the one thing that you've got to remember about the leak and what this gamer actually leaked. One, it's the truth. Two, there's a statistic here, 70,000 Ukraine soldiers to 16,000 Russian soldiers. So at the end of the day, what General Milley, what Joe Biden, what the mainstream news, CNN, they'll say it all the time. Oh, yeah, Ukraine is really... they're sticking it to Russia, and they're actually winning. They're actually they're toe to toe right now with Russia on this war effort, and that's not true. It's a bust. Ukraine is a bust. They're not winning, and they're not going to win anytime soon. Think about that number: 70,000 Ukraine soldiers dead, in comparison to 16,000 Russian soldiers. That should tell you that they are not winning. And we are dishing out so much money, billions of dollars for this war effort. And it's a losing battle. There's no way we're going to win. Ukraine is going to win. It's a money laundering scheme. They're pumping money into this war, and that's what this is about. It's a sham. It's a sham. It's not about actually getting democracy or getting freedom for Ukraine or coming out from underneath the Russian control. And what Russia really wants is just a sliver of Ukraine. That's it. That's it. It's just a tiny little sliver of Ukraine. And most of the people on this tiny little sliver speak Russian anyway. Most of them are Russians. So that's what the leak really tells us, is that this is a sham and that they are throwing money at a losing cause, and they're lying, and they're saying that Ukraine is winning, and they're not. And that at the end of the day, that's what it is. Now, I did want to move on and talk about the Bud Light controversy. Real quick, Donald Trump Jr., so the son of Donald Trump, has demanded an end to the Bud Light boycott over this partnership with the trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. I don't even really like saying the guy's name, because what that does is it puts him up as a hero. Our villains are their heroes. And, I always say this. You remember the villain out of all the films, right? Who's the villain of Star Wars? That's Darth Vader. Who's the villain of The Lion King? Scar. It's much harder to remember the hero or the heroes, the good guys. Everybody always remembers the villain, right? There are villains, that's their hero. And when we prop up Dylan and we say his name and we give him this credibility and as some sort of spokesperson, really what he is a stupid TikToker. And if we just stopped giving him the attention that he wants, so clear, then he would totally just fade away. And nobody would really know who he is, because he's just a loser TikToker who wants attention and fame. And that's exactly what we're giving him, is attention and fame. Same thing with these Tennessee representatives, these lawmakers who were expelled. We just totally prop them up because they're the heroes. They're heroes now for the left. So I'm going to get into it. I don't think we should stop our boycott for Bud Light, but I do think that there's more context here that not a lot of people are talking about. And I think that there's more to the story than just them totally slapping you in the face and not giving a darn about your values. I'm going to get into the Bud Light contra. I got to take a break. I got to take a break. But if you want more content and if you don't want to take a break and you want to hear more of today's stories, you can see me on YouTube or on Facebook Live. Join me and be a part of the conversation. This is the Morning Buzz, 309 451 9299. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, let's get to some comments. Here we go. Here we go. I've heard all this. I've heard over all this leak since it happened on Discord. They're now trying to go after Discord. Yep. Since it's not regulated or moderated. Yes. You are so right. I think I literally just said it. I said, remember this day when I'm telling you that they're going to impose more censorship on you. And I not that I don't think that this kid specifically should pay some sort of price. I don't think that he should be in the military anymore. However, I think what he did was a moral good. He provided the American people with the truth about this war, and I think that's a moral good. And I think that he should get some sort of whistleblower protection. What say you? You think that he should get some sort of whistleblower protection? And I would call Darren LaHood and ask him, "Hey, are you guys going to give this kid some whistleblower protection? Because he definitely deserves it because he's telling the truth about what's going on in Ukraine." And he's leaking these documents. They're briefings that they get all of Millie Biden. They get all of these briefings, and they're choosing to tell people lies about the war. And they're choosing to tell possibly Congress lies. What kind of briefings is Congress getting? Because if Congress is saying that Ukraine is winning and that this money is helping them, that all of this money that Joe Biden is asking for this war, if they're seeing that, oh yeah, it's not a losing cause, of course we'll give more money to it. And this money is actually helping the Ukrainians get democracy or to get their freedoms back from Russia. Yeah, then that's that at the end of the day, that's wrong because you're lying. Let's look at some of today's stories. One thing that I did want to highlight was this Bloomington. So this is wild to me. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Michelle Blissent. And I really need your guys' help in this because I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But I'm just going off of what I can see and what I know. I'm looking for the mugshot. I want the mugshot. Sure, let's go here. Yes, okay. So this is, JBC, Panagraph, they're all reporting this, and I think that they're lying. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. This is Michelle Blissent. All kinds of charges for sexual criminal assault. So there is the mugshot. Okay. And let me just read through here. The Panagraph was the one where I saw it first, and they talk about Michelle Blissent and how they refer to her as a she, they refer to her as Michelle Blissent, and I don't know. You guys look at that and let me know if you think that that's. I don't think so. And I think that if this is in fact a biological man posing as a woman, then we should know that. And I don't know if the police department was the one who sent this out and said that they arrested this Michelle Blissent. I also don't know if that's accurate because I've been seeing things that are 33 that suggest that this man / woman, I don't know, looks like a man to me. But all of the media here locally, they are reporting this as a man, and I just don't think that that's, or as a woman, and I don't think that's true. And this guy is $1 million. He's got to post bail, and then he's got all kinds of predatory criminal sexual assault charges, 5 counts of them, Class X felonies. So this is a big deal, and I'm just kind of curious what you guys think, if this is in fact a man or a woman. And I think that it matters, right? We can't, as a community, right? And we can't have the media lying and telling people that this was a woman who committed sexual assault and all these crimes. And in fact, it is a biological man. That makes a difference because there's a sex crime going on here. So yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Coming up, I do want to explore this video footage. Let me just show you here. I want to show you the video footage of this. This is really kind of crazy where this guy, Justin Jones, he's the Tennessee lawmaker. And this Tennessee lawmaker, prior to becoming a state rep, was a Antifa, BLM rioter who was violently assaulting people in their vehicles with traffic cones. Yes, with the traffic cone. Which is just really crazy to me. Hold on. There we go. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. You can also catch me live in the studio on Facebook and on YouTube Live. You can interact with me. I can interact with you. Plus, you get more content. But coming up, I am going to be talking about this MSNBC, this talking head that they got to get out there and to literally say that the 6-week abortion ban that Florida just passed, you can't get an abortion after 6 weeks. They're trying to say that that is a death sentence for women. Yes, they went to that extreme. This is a fake news outlet. Their latest ridiculous take centered on this Florida's ban on abortion after 6 weeks. They carefully selected, this is what they do, MSNBC. They select a guest that they know is going to get out there and they are going to declare outrageous things like this restriction is a death sentence for women. That's exactly what's going on. And then Elon dropping this bombshell about the government controlling you during this Tucker Carlson interview. We are going to get to that. But first, I wanted to ask you a question. And you guys can see the mugshot if you are watching via Facebook Live or YouTube. This mugshot of this man, I believe it's a man, but the news locally here, everybody is reporting this as a woman. They say the Bloomington Police Department, they conducted an investigation, came up with multiple counts of sexual assault for this Michelle Placent. Now, Michelle Placent was arrested without incident on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, and there was a bond set for $1 million. So he's got a, or she, I don't know, looks like a man. Really does look like a man. Folks, I'm not lying when I say that. I think that this is a man and that the media is referring to this alleged criminal, right? Somebody who's charged with heinous crimes, predatory, criminal sexual assault. These are Class X felonies. And they're referring to this Michelle Placent as a woman, when clearly I don't think that that's the case. But you tell me. You can text in and let me know what you think after viewing this guy's mugshot. I just think that there's no way that this is, in fact, a woman. And I think that it would be wrong. And I sure hope that the media would not do this, but I would not be shocked, folks. The local media here reporting, and even the police department, I sure hope that they would be honest and say that this is a biological male who identifies, that you could say that, right? This is a biological male who identifies as a transgender or as a woman and goes by the name of Michelle Placent. I don't know if that's his legal name. I don't know, because this is so important that you get the facts correct. And the fact is that this is a biological man who could be, allegedly, right? He hasn't been convicted of these crimes yet, but was arrested for 5 counts of predatory sexual assault against somebody who was under the age of 13. This is a heinous crime. And if you are affording a criminal the ability to identify as he wishes via your article, then I don't know what the hell your problem is. 309-451-9299. Let's get to it. Elon Musk. So Elon Musk has trained an important spotlight, has really put a spotlight on the government's involvement in censoring speech with the Twitter files. Elon Musk has done a great job doing this. There's things about Elon that I really don't like. Not going to get into it. Maybe I will on a different show. But he's also played a very vital role in loosening the control that liberals have had on speech on Twitter. You go onto Twitter now it's fair. Now the best ideology wins. And that you can actually see conservatives on Twitter, which wasn't the case prior to Elon taking over as the owner of Twitter. Now liberals can no longer control a narrative, and they're not happy about that, folks. The liberals are not happy that Elon has come in and has totally destroyed their narrative and has taken the narrative out of their control. Recently, he sat down with this BBC reporter and lit him up. Said, look, give me one example of hate speech. One, just one example of hate speech. You say that it's on the rise. Give me one example of hate speech. And the BBC reporter couldn't do it. What it is there's a shift in power. And this BBC reporter was shocked and was stammering, stuttering, couldn't provide an example of hate speech on the platform because the power has shifted. He used to be able to have all the power, this BBC reporter. Now he doesn't. Now he has to be held accountable and he has to provide receipts. And he can't because he didn't have the power anymore, and he can't just sweepingly say that there's hate crime or there's hate speech on Twitter because he doesn't have the power to just say that and have it be fact. Now Elon's got the power, and he's going to hold these people accountable, which is awesome. Through the Twitter files and the Democrat meltdown about what was being exposed, we've seen just how much effort was being exerted to influence social media and shape the narrative that was being put out there. There has been so much effort to try to shape a narrative on Twitter. I mean, the Hunter Biden story, censorship. There was an effort to make sure that story was buried because it would have influenced the presidential election. We've got the numbers on that now. People would not have voted for Joe Biden had that story come out. We also saw the FBI was involved in flagging people's posts on Twitter. We saw things like Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff's staff. They were flagging a journalist who was reporting on exposing Schiff. So there was a journalist who was trying to expose Schiff for all of his lies, and they didn't like that. The staff tried to get involved to try to censor the reporting of this journalist who was going after Adam Schiff and trying to expose him. We also saw the government trying to censor you and censor me. I mean, this happened. COVID information they didn't like. I remember specifically everybody sticking magnets to their arm after receiving the COVID shot, and that was video. That was like video evidence of like this crazy vaccine clot shot, right, where you could stick a magnet onto your arm and it would stick after receiving the clot shot. We've seen so much. We've seen them try to censor Robert F. Kennedy. He was flagged. We saw Democrats flip out and attack journalists who dared to report on what was going on. And they tried to smear these journalists. That we even saw, get this, the IRS showing up at the door of Matt Taibbi, who's the Twitter Files journalist who was the one leaking out all of this information, on the very day he was supposed to be testifying before Congress and being vilified by Democrats. So Matt Taibbi getting a knock on his door from the IRS, and right before he was supposed to testify before Congress. Now we've got Elon sitting down with Tucker Carlson for this two-part interview. One's going to air tonight, and then the next one is going to air on Tuesday night. And this interview is about Musk's concerns and the dangers of artificial intelligence. That's one portion of the interview. The other section is about the future of Twitter and some important things that Musk discovered about Twitter and what has been going on since the takeover, since he took over Twitter. So Tucker Carlson released a couple of clips that I want to play here for us. Uh, and this is a bombshell. Let's take a listen.
AI is more dangerous than, say, mismanaged aircraft design or production maintenance or bad car production, in the sense that it has the potential, however small one may regard that probability, but it is non-trivial. It has the potential of civilizational destruction. AI is more dangerous than, say, mismanaged aircraft design or production maintenance or bad car production, in the sense that it has the potential, however small one may regard that probability, but it is non-trivial. It has the potential of civilizational destruction.
So I played that twice for you. So that was about AI, and that's one portion of the interview where he talks about the dangers of AI, and that's not a small thing, and that should be a fascinating part of this interview to see what he has to say about AI. And I've actually played a little bit on Chat GPT. And yeah, it is totally leftist. Do not use that. That is what it does. It pulls from databases and from places like the New York Times, places like Facebook, and it uses the newspeak. It uses leftist language, and it's totally biased. But there's another portion of this interview, and this is a here and now threat. The government intrusion into our social media and our communications is a here and now threat. And I want to share this with us. This is what he has to say about that. Here we go.
The degree to which various government agencies had effectively had full access to everything that was going on Twitter blew my mind. I was not aware of that.
Would that include people's DMs?
Yes.
Here we
The
go.
degree
One
to
more
which
time.
Various government agencies had effectively had full access to everything that was going on Twitter blew my mind. I was not aware of that.
Would that include people's DMs?
Yes.
Wow.
The
Whoa,
degree to
whoa,
which-
whoa, whoa, whoa. So he's saying that the government had access to your DMs on Twitter. On Twitter, the government had access. I've got to take a quick break, folks, but when I come back, we're going to unpack that a little bit more, and then I've got to shift gears here because I want to talk about a couple of things today. The Bud Light controversy, there's new developments in that, and then also there's this footage that has been released. It's Tennessee Representative Justin Jones assaulting drivers during this 2020 riot, and I've got the video here, and I'm going to play it for us. That's next in the Morning Buzz. Good morning, good morning. Thanks so much for joining me here. I do want to explore this video of this Tennessee rep. Actually, let's just play it here for us now. Let me pull that up. Um, it doesn't have audio on it or anything like that, but you can clearly see Justin Jones. Um, he is assaulting somebody with a traffic cone. Yes, that's what's going on here, which I just find incredible. Let's do this. Let's go here, yeah, and here. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yep. Okay, so this is the video, and I'm just gonna play it for us here. Here we go. So you can see he's there. I think he's the guy that picks up the traffic cone. So there it is in the hat there, and then he picks up the traffic cone and starts poking, hitting the guy. He's just trying to drive. He throws it in at him. Yeah, there he is in the hat. That's Justin Jones. And he is a representative, folks. He is straight up a representative. He's a Trantifa. Um, He's Trantifa, and he's an extremist, and these extremists are in our midst, and we have to be careful because when we have extremists like this, um, in our government, they can do things in a militant way, and they get things passed in a militant way, and it's amazing how okay, locally here, right, Sharon Chung, I would say an extremist. She actually had a campaign manager who was a self-identified comrade. I'm not kidding you. Uh, Called himself a comrade in his Twitter, and he was self-identified as a comrade. When you have militants like this, extremists, people who are far, far left, not actual Democrats, people who are Antifa, BLM, Trantifa, trans activists, things like that, when you have them in government, they will stop at nothing to get legislation passed, and they do it without question. Whatever is best for the regime, whatever is best for the government, the uniparty, whatever you want to call it, whatever is best for them, they will get it passed. So that couldn't have been more apparent with Sharon Chung, who pushed through this legislation when it came to normal and trying to change some code, Illinois state law that says that incorporated towns over 20,000 people, 25,000 people have to have certain elected offices. She went and she changed that law so that way um, and made it to where it's affords and it could be where we only select a mayor, not even the trustees. The trustees themselves or the council members in the town of Normal could be appointed by the mayor. So she designed that. Um, and I don't even think she really looked at it. She just probably did it on her on after the town of Normal approached her and asked her to do it. But it's this militant mindset where you are so ready to help out the party, and that's what I think Republicans or conservatives, whatever you want to call them, are bad at. There's not a militant mindset there where you are fighting to win. And it doesn't matter, who says it. It doesn't. There's this curiosity. I call it the conservative curiosity, where we're constantly questioning each other and questioning each other's motives. What needs to happen is that there needs to be a militant mindset because we are at war. We are at war, info wars. We are at legislative wars. We are at a war with these people who try to push their extremist agenda. Um, and I want to get into it because this is just, wild to me. Justin Jones on tape, and then he's a state lawmaker, which is crazy to me. Thanks so much for joining me. Let's see. Let's get to our Congress or our comments here. That's a man. Yeah. I thought so. Uh, and we've got the media calling this guy, and I'm gonna just share our screen again here. You guys, let me know what you think. I'm pretty sure that this guy is a man. But they're calling him she. They're calling him Michelle, and I think that that's a lie. And that's dangerous. You don't push out lies when it comes to um, pedophiles or criminals. So yeah, glad that you commented there. Um, I hope that other people comment and let me know, what do you think? Is this guy in the mugshot here a man or a woman? Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. You can also see me live in the studio on YouTube and on Facebook. Coming up, we are going to be talking a lot about Justin Jones. So Justin Jones, he was on tape in the 2020 riots, newly released video footage. I want to explore this video footage that shows Tennessee Representative Justin Jones assaulting drivers during this 2020 Floyd riot thing. And he's a representative. And he was among those representatives, Justin Pearson, Justin Jones, and then there was another one, I can't remember her name, but she wasn't expelled. They tried, but they couldn't get her expelled. But they're all reinstated anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Justin Jones was expelled for his insurrection. inciting people to storm the Tennessee Capitol, the state capitol. And he was on a blowhorn telling people to go in, and he was directing people on where to go, and he was being very insurrection-y, right? And they expelled him for that because your actions have consequences, and if you disrupt the proceedings of an official state house, state capitol, and the state house of trying to do the people's work, then you should have some sort of consequence. So they tried to expel him, but it didn't work, which was really embarrassing. And it would have almost been better if they didn't do anything at all. But Representative Justin Jones assaulting drivers during this 2020 riot, George Floyd riots, he was assaulting them with a traffic cone. With a traffic cone. He was taking a cone and he was trying to jab a driver while he was driving down this road. An innocent driver. They were stopping. And this is so similar to Daniel Perry. And you know the story coming out of Texas there, Daniel Perry. He was stopped by a bunch of BLM rioters. And actually, he had somebody point an AK-47 down into his window. And that was scary. I'm sure that was scary. And Daniel Perry had a gun and took the gun and shot at him 5 times. And and brought him down because he had a gun. Like the guy who was surrounding his car had a gun, an AK-47, and you can see in the picture he's got it pointed down into the window of Daniel Perry. And this was just a tactic by the extremist militants. Okay, this was a tactic where they would surround and circle a car, innocent people driving, and then they would try to get them to repeat slogans and chants and things like that. Very weird, very ritualistic, and almost like neo-paganism religion-esque, right? It gave me really creepy vibes, but this was definitely a tactic used in the 2020 riots. We're going to get into it. Also, there's developments out of the Bud Light controversy. That's next. This is disturbing and it's wrong, and I cannot believe, and I know that there's good reporters out there and they're not all bad, right? And I know that the Bloomington Police Department, surely they didn't do this on purpose, and I sure hope they didn't, because this is something else. We don't, when it comes to criminal sexual assault, predatory criminal sexual assault, we don't play the leftist games. We should not be doing that. Um, and we should be reporting the facts, and we should be as honest as possible and as clear and as concise as possible when it comes to predatory criminal sexual assault and releases, press releases. And I don't know if the press release, I've got to look back in the archives here. I can't believe this, where we've got the city of Bloomington and we've got news media out there calling this man a woman, and this man is being charged with 5 counts of predatory criminal sexual assault. And this is a case where he's accused of allegedly sexually assaulting somebody under the age of 13. And they're calling him Michelle Blessant, age 33, and he was indicted Wednesday after a lengthy investigation. After the indictment, he was issued a $1 million bond warrant, and he was arrested without incident. So I've come to find out that his name, allegedly right now, the whole Michelle Blessant thing, that's fake. According to his very own social media account, I've been told by sources that this is his social media account, and it's riddled with pictures of him, and as pictures of him, his family, his ideologies. And I've got his social media account here, and he is going by James Blessant on this older social media account. And an extremist. He was very public about where he lies politically, and I'd have to do some research on it, but obviously not a Republican, not a Democrat. He says that he is a part of the Rastafari movement, and has a profile picture of him, him wearing the Rastafari logo. I have no idea. I'd have to brush up on my history. I know a little bit about the Rastafari movement. I'm not going to comment on what that movement is as of right now, but I'm glad that I have found a name, and it appears that his name, his true name, I'd imagine, he looks like a man, James Blessant. And if the media and the police are calling him Michelle and using his posing name, he's posing as a woman and he's committing sexual crimes as a man, this is wrong. This is wrong. I have no idea, but this is, if they are in fact referring to him as Michelle and his biological name and his legal name it is James, then we should be using that. 309-451-9299. Before we get into the Bud Light controversy, there's been some developments there. I want to get into Justin Jones. So Justin Jones was a representative here, and he was seen on video. There's a newly exposed video of him assaulting drivers with a traffic cone. Here we go.
Expulsion. For years, one of your colleagues who was an admitted child molester sat in this chamber. No expulsion. One member sits in this chamber who was found guilty of domestic violence. No expulsion. We had a former speaker sit in this chamber who is now under federal investigation. No expulsion. We have a member still under federal investigation. No expulsion. We had a member pee in another member's chair in this chamber. No expulsion. In fact, they're in leadership.
Wow, Justin Jones. And I've got the video here. If you're watching via the Facebook Live or YouTube Live, you can see the video play out. It can be seen in the street, and he is attacking somebody with a traffic cone. So The grand jury indicted the protester, Justin Jones, on 2 counts of reckless endangerment after he repeatedly assaulted a citizen with a traffic cone as he was driving down the street. Jones says that this was a false narrative and he wasn't violent. Okay. This is what he said on his Twitter. He goes, "They will try to push a false narrative portraying me as violent as a way to deflect from their own actions. They will suggest that I am out of order. That is their strategy. However, I am hopeful for the chance to present our evidence in a transparent manner." So he, in the video, he's wearing a sun hat. And we've posted the video on our Facebook page, so you can check it out there just to see for yourself him actually assaulting somebody with a traffic cone. That's real. And I wanted to talk about this story today because it's amazing to me that the media, the pop culture, they've turned these race riots into butterflies and kittens. And no, that's not what was going on there. There was actual fire, there was bloodshed, and there was destruction during the 2020 Floyd riots. I will never forget, and I've got to try to find this video because I've tried to find it, and I think that that's scrubbed from the internet, but I remember seeing it. I'll never forget, and I remember seeing it because I actually physically got sick from watching it. It was a black store owner, which made this video particularly interesting because it had nothing to do with race and everything to do with violence and committing this violence. It was a black store owner. I forget where it was. Could have been in Philadelphia, Chicago. I don't know. Can't remember. But it was back in 2020, and they pulled him through the glass window. It was a storefront, like it was a window, and they pulled him through the shattered glass window, and they were beating him. I won't ever forget it. This was left-wing terrorism, and this has been going on for a long time. And history, they tried to hide it. They hide history from you. So this has been so hidden, this instance with Justin Jones, this newly released video of him being a Trantifa BLM militant extremist. This video has been so hidden. In fact, in Nashville, Tennessee, in the summer of 2020, this guy is now a state representative. So he was elected as state rep. And this video was out there before he was elected state rep. And they tried to kick him out and they reinstated him. He was causing insurrection, inciting people to go into the Tennessee Capitol to protest, this trans bill where they said, hey, you can't chop off healthy breasts of 15 or 13-year-olds. You can't do that. That was basically what this bill was. It just said, we're not going to be surgically transitioning children here in the state of Tennessee. And they reinstated him after he caused this insurrection over that bill. Shortly after, that mass shooter in Nashville took out 3 Christian children and 3 adults. Now, he is full-on BLM, Antifa, militant extremist, and he's in the government. He is literally in the street stopping cars in the middle of Nashville, and he's assaulting people with a traffic cone. And they're everywhere. These militant extremists are everywhere in your government. Our very own Vice President Kamala Harris. Remember when she raised money for people who were arrested for this? It was a Minneapolis defense fund, and she was raising money for this defense fund. And of course, all of that money went straight up to psychopaths. Went to all sorts of psychopaths. Was there a scandal for her? No, of course not, because the media didn't report on it. This guy should be behind bars for surrounding this car, and it's on tape, folks. He surrounded the car, started assaulting an innocent driver in the street with a traffic cone. And it looks very similar to this Daniel Perry case in Texas. And this was a tactic. This was a thought-out, executed tactic by BLM and Trantifa in 2020, where they would surround the cars and they would demand you repeat slogans as if it were some sort of weird neo-pagan ritual. And if you didn't repeat the slogans that they wanted you to repeat when they surrounded and encircled you in your cars, or even if you looked a certain way, they would beat you with things like a traffic cone. Or in the case of Daniel Perry, they would point an AK-47 at you or as the media put it, he just gestured. He just lightly gestured the AK-47 towards Daniel Perry in the car. Come on. Do you think that this is going to stop? No, they've been emboldened. These militant extremists have been emboldened. Where is Merrick Garland? He's going after people like Douglas Mackey over a meme. He shared a meme about Hillary Clinton and voting for her at home online. Come on, guys. And they're going after this 21-year-old gamer who leaked the truth about the Ukraine war. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a friend of the regime, you get a pass. That is the world that we are living in. Same thing for the electioneering, Unit 5. They have their own attorney in an email saying, hey guys, this might actually be in violation of this election code. And I haven't heard anything about people being held accountable for this electioneering that was possibly going on in Unit 5. And they were continuing to campaign on behalf of the referendum at these choir concerts, band concerts, you name it. They were continuing to do that even after this email was sent out to these teacher union individuals by the Unit 5 district attorney. You get a pass. If you are a friend of the regime, you get a pass. 309-451-9299. Do want to hit this story real quick. MSNBC, this guest calls Florida's 6-week abortion ban a death sentence for women. If you didn't think that MSNBC, if you didn't think that they could, or if they were running out of ways to beclown themselves, you were wrong, because at least so far, this is a ridiculous take centered on the Florida ban after abortion, or on abortion after 6 weeks. So, as reported by Newsbusters, this MSNBC host went with the predictable war on women and the silliness. And later in this interview, she said that being pregnant in Florida is like a death sentence. Yes, because this makes a whole lot of sense. Let's take a listen.
What we have going on here is all eyes are on the Supreme Court, who is looking at one of the most, anticipated abortion-related cases since the overturning of Roe v. Wade in June. Katie.
And, Chloe, we kind of predicted, right, that this war on women was going to keep on forward, and obviously the next battle is the abortion pill. And later, one woman says being pregnant in Florida is like a death sentence. How the state's abortion rollbacks are putting women's lives in harm's way.
But so they are legitimately saying that because you can't have an abortion at 7 weeks, and they're putting restrictions on it. And hello, it's 2023. We live in the world of science where it says, where we can show that children in the womb feel things, they have life, there's signs of life, and we're living in 2023, folks, where it's not taboo to suggest that there is life in the womb, right? And this woman goes to the extreme of saying that it's a death sentence if you're pregnant in the state of Florida. Okay, whatever. Bottom line, the Democrat Party and the left as a whole will continue to spin lies to pretend logic and into pretend logic, right? They'll spin the lies into pretend logic and twist the intent of the laws restricting abortion until the proverbial cows come home. Hence, conservatives opposed to ending the lives of the unborn must continue to fight the left's death sentence against them at every turn. So you're the one who is trying to keep babies from dying on the other side. Which brings me to this. Make sure you guys sign up to either be a walker or to give to the Pregnancy Resource Center. They have their 2023 annual walk coming up this Saturday, actually, folks. I'm going to be walking. I'm very excited. With my youth group, actually. So that's where I'm going to be on Saturday. You should be there too, or you should go check them out online. That's pregnancyresourcecenter.org. Oh boy. Well, that's crazy interesting. So, I just found out, guys, and you guys can text in 309-451-9299. I just found out the name of Michelle Blessant. I think the actual name of Michelle Blessant. Now, I don't know if he legally changed it or what, but James Blessant. Um, and I'm going to be doing some more research on that to try to expose these media hacks and even possibly the Bloomington Police Department for lying to people and saying that a woman committed these crimes, or not saying that he did commit these crimes, but arresting somebody for these crimes and not being accurate in their press release. Um, it would be accurate to say that this was a biological man posing to be a woman. Yeah, and they're calling him a straight up woman. That's disgusting. Here is a man committing crimes, possibly, allegedly, hasn't been convicted yet. Allegedly committing crimes for with a heinous crime, sexual assault. And I mean, what? How could you? How could you be so? He's committing crimes as a man, posing to be a woman, and now people are going to think that what? There's women who commit these crimes, and I'm not saying there aren't, but in this case, it wasn't. That's just not true. And it was a man who was committing these crimes, and to try to pitch this man um as a woman and say that she I like this one. Yeah, that woman has an Adam's apple and a 5 o'clock shadow. Yeah, I showed you guys the press release photo, and that's incredible. The fact that we've got here, and I'll just share this with you. I mean, here we go. City of Bloomington. They're the ones who are reporting this. I mean, this is their Facebook page. We'll go to it. And they're saying it's a woman. Yep. Arrest warrant, bond, criminal. Michelle Blessant, 33 years old. Circumstances behind this. Wish to submit a tip. Blah, blah, blah. In this one, they didn't call him a woman, I don't think, in this post. Yeah. Yeah, that's wild, but they're using his name, arrested, and allegedly, and I'm just gonna go. Why not, right? I'll just show you guys the Facebook page that I stumbled upon. This is him. I'm not going to show you his profile pictures or anything like that because there are children in his profile pictures, and I want to make sure that I don't expose those children. But this is his Facebook account, and if you go into there, it's very clear that he was in fact a man, at least at some point. So this is crazy. Yeah, more on that story. I'm gonna be working that story today because that's huge. The fact that you've got every media outlet in the world, in Bloomington, in Central Illinois, reporting that that guy is a man or is a woman. No. Highlights for or a couple of things that I want to hit today. The Blue Bud Light controversy. So that is actually not um, um, what you think it is. So I want to give you the latest developments on that. Not that you should stop boycotting. I'm not calling for you to stop boycotting, but there's more to that story, and I think that that provides some more context for you onto why Donald Trump Jr. came out and said the things that he said. Let me just pull this up for you. The actual statement from Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. says he's demanding an end to the Bud Light Bud Light boycott over this partnership with this trans influencer, and praises them for donating more to the GOP than to the Dems. And he says, "quote I'm leaving them alone. I think you should probably do the same." So Donald Trump Jr. I mean, my first thought was that like, what the heck am I reading? Like that when Donald Trump Jr. came out and said that, I was like, what would you let them trans uh, all the kids as long as they donate to what your dad? Is that what you were talking about, Donald Trump Jr.? And I was really peeved off. I was like, are you kidding me? Did some digging, found some more stuff out. Bud Light actually, and this is a statistic that should stick with you. 60%, over 60% of their spending goes towards right causes or Republican causes. So they are not as wokesy as, like, say, a State Farm that literally donated millions to BLM. And they did not donate to woke companies, and they did not or donate to woke causes or BLM itself. Um, However, they were aware, somebody at the top had to have been aware that they hired this woman who made the decision to make the trans influencer partners with them. So I'm going to get into it here on the Morning Buzz. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. And you guys remember this, Kid Rock?
Grandpa's feeling a little frisky today. Let me say something to all you and be as clear and concise as possible. Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch.
So that was Kid Rock, and he's talking about Bud Light. And, there's been some developments come out about this, and I want to go through this because I wasn't drinking Bud Light before it was cool, y'all, because I did not like Bud Light. I've always been a Coors girl. In fact, I'm not even really all that much a beer girl. I really like wine and whiskey. That's my drinks. And I'm not a big drinker anyway. I think I drink maybe like once a month. But now I've come out and I've told you that we need to stick to our guns, and we need to boycott Bud Light. And I think we should, because this was a marketing flub and it deserves severe action. It deserves severe action because these people messed up, and they messed up big. When this first came out, I was kind of hesitant to report on it because I thought it was a joke. I didn't even think it was real. It came out around April 1st, and I was like, I don't know if this is real. Then I saw some articles and mainstream news reporting on it, and then I was like, okay, so this is real. They actually paid Dylan Mulvaney to do this. Now, there's been some more developments about this, and I know that you guys are going to be like, Kat, how could you? No, just hear me out here. Yes, it was paid, but this was not a paid engagement. This was not something that was on the books. This was not something that, and Daily Wire is now coming out and providing information that Bud Light, this article from Daily Wire suggests that this was a rogue marketing decision by wokies within that marketing department. And this was a marketing department. This was not brought up to the big guys at the top. And, all I've got to really say about that is shame on you for hiring people with this ideology. I mean, if you were to do any kind of research on this woman, Alyssa, who came up with this decision to hire on Dylan Mulvaney for a sponsorship of Bud Light and to put his face on the can, right? She was the one who came up with all of this, and she tried to back up her decision by saying, oh, it was just too fratty of a brand and I needed to rebrand, and she was in the marketing department. If you guys were to do any kind of homework on her, you could see that she was probably not a good employee. And being that you go on her social media, she's licking toilets and she's drinking out of condoms, right? I mean, and me being that I've never really hired anyone per se, but if I was a boss and I had some sort of hiring ability and firing ability, I would probably, before I hired that person, check out their social media to see. And that's good. If you're a boss, I would say that that's something you should probably do, is check out that person's Facebook page, because that's a very public thing. And this person, if they're dumb enough to put it on their Facebook page, they're going to make dumb decisions for your company. Okay, so shame on Bud Light for hiring somebody like Alyssa, But hear me out, guys. They were actually trying to do some damage control after Alyssa went rogue and she did this thing where she made the decision to make this trans influencer. And I don't even really like using his name because he's a villain, guys. And we're pushing him up into some sort of hero status for the leftists. But they recently released actually this patriotic commercial for Budweiser. And they've paused all of their marketing department's decisions around Bud Light. And they're not letting their marketing department make decisions as of right now. So they've paused that. And remember when we kept asking ourselves why? Why would they do this? Why would they slap their customers, their base, right in the face? I mean, we work here at Cities 92.9 to build a brand, and we serve a certain audience. We serve an audience, you. And we work to brand us a certain way, so that way we keep that base, we keep that audience. And I remember I just kept asking myself, why would they do this? Well, it's important to note that they actually do give 60% to the right. So where are they spending their money? They're spending it on right causes. They're spending it on Republicans. Don Trump Jr. coming out and he's demanding this end to the boycott. And I'm saying, no way. We aren't going to end our boycott. I don't think we should end the boycott. Screw their money. I don't care if 60% of it goes to the people on the right. They should be smarter and they shouldn't be hiring these market department loons. And corporations, and this is the toxic culture within corporations. If you hire people like Alyssa in your marketing departments without any idea what kind of repercussions that could come with that decision to hire that individual, then you're an idiot and you deserve to have your stock plummet. And although it's on the rise, I know libertarians everywhere, Bud Light stock is on the rise. Why do you guys care about this woman being on a beer can or man being on a beer can? Yeah, no, they are actually hurting because they have reported like $6 billion in losses. So Bud Light is actually hurting from this boycott. Dylan Mulvaney is a creep and he's offensive to women. And we have the right to hold them accountable for the crappy decisions that they made to put Alyssa in her position to make a decision like that. Now, one thing I also want to know, Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch, they're actually really good on trade and tariffs. And who does that hurt? China. So I'm very interested in hurting China. But this wasn't a limited run. It wasn't anything that the top knew about. And they haven't donated to BLM or they haven't really given a whole lot of money to woke causes like green weenie stuff, nothing like that. And another part of this, I think we need to stop platforming their heroes. Our villains are their heroes. And look, folks, everyone remembers the villain at the end of the day. Everybody remembers Darth Vader, right? Or Scar from the movie Lion King. One post and suddenly everybody loses it. And I'm just saying, guys, we should be playing chess, not checkers. Don't get me wrong, guy's a freak, and I don't blame you for boycotting the beer, but that's why Donald Trump Jr. tweeted that out, or demanded, and said, hey, let's stop this boycott. It's because Bud Light isn't necessarily a company that's a problem for our cause, because they actually donate to our cause. And, yeah, take that for what you want. I'm just saying, again, chess, not checkers. On the other side, this is the Morning Buzz. Scott joins me for Scott's Takes. Law and Order is not hip anymore. It's not.
Well, isn't it weird? I mean, you and I were talking about this. How about they do, like, they've done Law and Order Las Vegas, Law and Order whatever. How about Law and Order No Rules, or Law and Order isn't hip anymore?
Yeah.
And just criminal. It's just a show where criminals get by with everything. I mean, I don't know how long that lasts, but there certainly is a relatable audience out there for it. They're doing it all the time. We can talk all day about how we're going to legislate our way into safety. It just never works, and it never will work, and there's a reason for that. People don't care. Mm-hmm. I want to know, and Chicago this weekend was a perfect example. This is on what? The Magnificent Mile on Michigan Avenue. I know it's downtown.
Yeah, it's on Michigan Avenue.
It's on Michigan Avenue. 3 people were shot. Multiple incidents of robbery. People were maced. They had mace, too. They brought with them. Fantastic. CTA employees were beaten. Multiple attempts to break into the Art Institute of Chicago. Now, this is the same city that's been chosen as the site of the next Democratic National Convention. Sounds like it's perfect for those guys, right? They love that kind of stuff. I mean, there's lawlessness is their calling card. I every weekend I hear about this stuff, and I say to myself, well, what's going on out there? What's going on? I mean, or another shooting or whatever, and you say to yourself, well, what's happening here? And I want to know, of these 3 knuckleheads who were shooting the place up downtown Chicago on Saturday night, I want to know how many of these people obtained their weapons legally. I want to know. I absolutely want to know.
Yeah.
And I'm not, sometimes people steal them from their grandparents or their parents, or they steal them from a neighbor, or they steal them, or they just flat out steal them from whomever during a burglary, whatever the case.
And it's unclear why there's
you
a
mentioned
mob
that, yeah.
of young people, right? Like, what is going on to where there's a mob? I mean, this is.
What were they protesting?
I don't know.
I mean, the Bulls getting booted out of the playoffs. I mean, what?
Yeah, right.
But I have no. You're right. There doesn't seem to be a purpose other than just to raise hell.
Yeah.
And to scare people and take their money if possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly insanity.
And I think what these people realize, too, is these young people who are causing chaos, and this is downtown. This is like where I would go for, the markets and for, the shopping if I were to have a nice date downtown, right, in Chicago.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore because this is happening on Michigan Avenue. But they realize that there's strength in numbers, and this is militant, where they're starting to realize, hey, we can get away with a whole lot if we get about 20 of our friends to come and riot with us. We can get all kinds of money. We can get all kinds of stuff and loot and riot, and we'll
do what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. There's interesting you say that, because there's a movie, kind of a cult following movie. It's in my opinion a really cool movie. It's a great movie, and I watched it when I was very young. I think it came out when I was 18 or 19 years old, but it's called The Warriors. And it is about New York street gangs all congregating in Central Park. Everybody came. All of them did. And the leader of everybody, of the largest street gang, addressed the crowd and said, hey, we can control this city. We've got the numbers. We outnumber the cops. And this was a day before, cops were looked at as unfavorable, subhuman people. We can do this. We can take over the city. Now, what happens is in gangland, of course, that's not going to happen because they don't want to share their piece of turf or whatever, right? But anyway, that was the theme of the movie, was this is how it all begins, and this is how it started. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it was 1979, right? Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it's come true. I mean, it exists now, only they're loosely affiliated now. Some are fully formed gangs, and others are just loose affiliations of gangs. The people that this is exactly what they do. If you recall, during the riots, the George Floyd riots, when people were walking out of stores with TV sets, it was ingrained in their brains. It was owed to them. That somehow it was owed to them. This is something that was you just deal with.
Yeah,
I mean,
when
it's
you
crazy.
have the mainstream media saying these people are Nazis, these people are fascists, and they want to come after you, and blah, blah, blah. Of course, right? And I try to throw myself into a time where there were actual Nazis, right? What would I be doing during
Uh-huh.
Nazi Germany, and I would probably be rioting and protesting the Nazis and, the
Yeah.
fascism that Hitler.
Yeah.
When the mainstream media says these people are Nazis and there's a patriarchy, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, and again, the people that are saying these things are people that don't have to worry about this. Traditionally, in their little gated communities they live in,
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't come to them, but it will eventually. They're going to run out of targets in the inner city, and then they're going to have to work their way towards you. And then all of a sudden, things might change from that point on. But, whoever runs for the presidency of the United States on the Republican side has got to be a law and order person. That's just all there is to it. You can, other than that, I think that should be one of the hot button issues. It probably won't be, but it should be. They're going to want to talk about abortion. They're going to talk about trans. They're going to want to talk about gun control. They're going to talk about all these things, but nobody's going to bring this up. Because if you do, then you're
Well,
law
and
and
I
order
do
is.
think that the 2024 president has to be for guns. You have to be 100% for, because that's part of it, right? Law and order. It's like without guns, then there is no law and order. How do you...
but there is no law and order, which you have to have guns to protect yourself and your family from the marauding masses that are out there. I don't know. I want to get to this real quick. Nikki Fried. You know who Nikki Fried is? By the way,
yeah. That's the
she ran for governor against Ron DeSantis, and of course got shellacked by Ron DeSantis. She's now when you fail in that party, you get another job quickly. She's currently the chair of the Florida Democrats. She thought she was being cute with a little tweet she sent out. Here's the tweet: Nikki Fried, Democrat, failed candidate of Democrat, now running the Democratic Party in Florida. That's got to be a lonely job. She said Republicans have no idea what women want. From the party that can't even identify what a woman is, this is ironic, isn't it?
Oh, Nikki Fried.
I mean,
they don't even know what bathroom to use. What do you mean?
Well, define
no
woman.
Idea what they
define
want.
it. Define it. You got a Supreme Court judge you put in there that can't identify. They don't know. They don't know what a woman is. What? I'm not a biologist. I don't know. Is it Dylan Mulvaney? I don't think so. I mean, somebody mentioned he's the Audrey Hepburn of Bud Light, and perhaps that does have a certain ring to it, doesn't it? Good golly. Also, in California this morning, and there's no reason to believe it won't come to this woke state, because J.B. Pritzker is trying to outwoke absolutely everybody. They're doing this thing now with California, their electric company, stating that you will pay your electric bill on how much you earn, not on how much you use.
No.
On how much you earn.
My goodness.
And again, this is one of Hair Gel's proposals that sounds like it's going to get through with no problem. I mean, this is Karl Marx. This is right out of the Marx playbook, folks. It's really unbelievable. And can you not see Pritzker doing this?
Yeah. I mean,
in the name of equity and diversity? I can.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's all kinds of things like rent. You can't kick people out anymore if you're a landlord. And I went through this personally. I mean, it's like they couldn't even kick out this guy who was clearly losing his marbles. And I was like, guys, what's wrong with you? I was under the assumption that y'all did background checks, and it's like we can't do anything. We can't kick him out for simply acting like a nut.
Yeah.
Well,
how long
why
before
not?
Right. I mean, how long before they get in the car business, right? Well, I really can only afford $50 a month, and this car is way too expensive for me. I will lower the price for you, and the government will pick up the rest. No problem.
Socialism, communism.
That's socialism, communism / communism. Yes. All right. Well, have a great. It's really a miserable, gross, gray day, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Find your sunshine. Find your sunshine, everybody. The Cat Peterson Story Hour is coming up after 9 today. Okay. Talk to you later. All right, Zen Master. Talk to you later. All right. See ya.
Scott Robbins, Scott's Takes. Yes, coming up. Find Your Sunshine Story Hour with Kat Peterson. No, we will not be doing that. We will be hitting today's news. One thing that I do want to bring up, the 21-year-old gamer who leaked some briefings, documents, proving that they're lying to you about the Ukraine war. That's Guts Takes, folks. We do that here on the Morning Buzz every morning at about 7:35. So, coming up, one thing that I do want to talk about is this guy, James Blessant. We will be talking about that 8:30. I'm planning on talking with El Donzo from the El Donzo and D show that you can catch here on Cities 92.9, brought to you by Enviroseal, where they will come out and, unlike Madonna's sinking slabs, they will lift your sinking slabs. Yeah, they raise concrete. They do some cool things. It's a little above my head. I'm not exactly sure, but if you've got like sidewalks that aren't like even, I would call Enviroseal. Or if you need help lifting slab jacking, they do slab jacking. So they do a lot. They do a lot more than that, folks. So go check out Enviroseal. We love our advertisers. Now, El Donzo, he's going to be joining me to talk about this man who is being charged with 5 counts of predatory sexual assault. And that's according to the Bloomington Police Department. And his name is James Blessant. Now, I don't know if he legally changed his name to Michelle Blessant, but the Bloomington Police Department and the media around here locally have been reporting that this is Michelle Blessant, a woman who has been arrested and indicted on all of these charges. What's bothersome to me is that we should be accurate. This guy has an Adam's apple and a 5 o'clock shadow. Is he a biological man? And if he is a biological man, then we should be calling him biological man. He is, in fact, a man, and we should be calling him a man who committed these crimes. It matters, specifically in these crimes, right? If it's a case of sexual assault, obviously it matters if it's a man or a woman, because that's how you perform the act. That is how you perform the crime, is through your sex organs, right? Or through other sex organs. I'm just being as honest as I possibly can here. And it's important to know if he is a biological man, biological woman, if he's posing as a woman. If you look at the mugshot, straight up, guy looks like a man. I will pull this up for you here since you're watching online. But I have some developments here coming up, and it shows that this man did go by, in fact, a name called James. He used to go by James Blessant, at least I think, according to his social media. There's several pictures of him on there where he is going by James Blessant. And this is, I would hope and pray that the Bloomington Police Department did not do something completely negligent and refer to this man as a woman for the sake of being friendly or for the sake of not dead naming this person. Dead naming is when you use the transgender individual's biological sex versus the preferred sex, right? If you use the biological terms instead of the preferred terms, that's dead naming. And in this case, if you are being indicted on 5 counts of predatory criminal sexual assault, I don't see where we should be giving you the credit or letting you have your preference. You are being indicted on several criminal sexual assault charges. You should not be referred to by whatever you want. No. If you are a biological man. So there's the mugshot, 5 o'clock shadow. Yeah, Adam's apple. I don't know. You guys tell me. And then also a little bit later, I do want to talk about we've got this case here where they arrested this man, 21-year-old man. I say 21. He's 21 years old, and he was a gamer, and he was on Discord, and he had been arrested by the feds, and he's straight up telling the truth about the American war. So I'm going to get into that, and also Veterans Corner with Jerry Vogler is at 8 o'clock, and Kevin Woodard will be joining me for the local news bit. Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz, and it is a nasty day out there today. Right now it's let me double check on this. The weather. It's 35 degrees. I'm looking at here, 35 degrees. It was snowing this morning. I got some snow in my eyes when I was getting out into my truck, and I was like, oh gosh, it's gonna be one of those days. We are supposed to get a high today of 54 degrees, so I'm hoping that it gets a bit warmer, and I'm hoping that the sun comes out. It looks like it will clear up tomorrow, and it's actually going to be in the 60s, folks. So you've got that to look forward to. And then on Wednesday, 79 degrees. It's going to get stormy on Thursday. Looking like we could have some rain later in the week, folks. In the 8 o'clock hour at 8:30, I'm going to be visiting with Aldonzo from the Aldonzo and D Show. Love him; he's great. If you guys haven't listened to the Aldonzo and D Show, this is my official endorsement of that show. Love that show. It's brought to you by EnviroSeal, the guys who will slabjack your sinking sidewalks. Now, one thing that I want to talk about is James Blessant, and I've got his social media pulled up here. Obviously, went by James at one point. I've got the local media. Everyone is reporting that this is a Bloomington. The headline coming out of 25 WEEK, Bloomington woman indicted for predatory criminal sexual assault. And then we've got Pantograph, same headline. We've got JBC, same headline. And you look at the mugshot, and it doesn't quite line up with that narrative, right? Where it says Bloomington woman. You look at the mugshot, and you're like, wait a second, that's a man. And then Bloomington Police Department is calling this man Michelle. Now, I have no idea. Maybe he legally changed his name. I wouldn't doubt it. However, we should be as accurate as possible, and it should be up to the police department to indicate whether or not this is a biological man posing as a woman, or if he transitioned to a woman, because it matters in this case, because this is a criminal sexual assault. He's being charged with 5 counts of predatory criminal sexual assault. And it would be disgusting, and I sure hope people aren't doing this, where we start using this guy's preferred pronouns, preferred name, and we are trying to do this because we don't want to risk dead naming him. I don't give a hoot about this guy's perceptions of who he is. Biologically, what is he? Biologically, what is he? Because that matters in this case, because it is of a sexual nature. And if they are ignorantly reporting this, and if they are being not accurate, that's going to really peeve me off. And it should peeve you off, being that you are a resident here and you're supposed to be trying to protect your children from people like this. 309-451-9299. On the other side, we are going to be talking about, I want to look into the truth about the American war currently being waged in Ukraine, which was recently exposed by a gamer who has since been arrested by the feds. And I'm calling on all of my congressmen to give this kid whistleblower protection, because I think what he did here was morally justified, and he exposed corruption. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. I'm not against cancel culture. The left started it, so we need to hit them so hard they beg for a truce. Same goes for ballot harvesting. I don't like it, but we need to do it 10 times better than the Democrats. We don't get to choose the arena, but we have a choice in how hard we fight. We don't get to choose the arena, but we can choose how hard we actually fight back against the woke mob Democrats. 309-451-9299. You can see me live in the studio on Facebook Live, or you can see me on YouTube and be a part of the show. Text in your comments. You can also text in via the text line, 309-451-9299. In about 30 minutes, we'll be talking with El Donzo from the El Donzo and D Show about Michelle Blessant. Really, is it Michelle Blessant or is it James Blessant? We don't know. Because people are reporting that this is a Bloomington woman who was indicted for predatory criminal sexual assault charges, but the picture tells us a different reality. This is not a woman. This is clearly very, very much a man, or at least was a man. I don't know the extent at which this person has tried to pose as a woman. But biologically, you are a man, and calling this person a woman is just wrong, flat out wrong, and it's deceptive, and it's not fair for those in this community to be told lies from every media outlet in central Illinois. We will never tell you lies here. This is a man posing as a woman and has been indicted on 5 counts of predatory criminal sexual assault. So I will be talking about that at 8:30. Also, I will be talking about the truth about the American war that's currently being waged in Ukraine. We have Jack Teixeira. He's 21 years old, the Air National Guardsman out of Massachusetts. And I want to explain what's going on here and what kind of sense we should be making of this, because the question for you that I pose is leaking corruption a moral good? The government is coming down, and they're coming down hard on this kid, 21 years old. And I know that the regime is going to be coming down hard on him. And we haven't seen this in other cases like the Dobbs leaker, right? The Dobbs decision. He leaked the decision that was going to be made by the Supreme Court. We haven't seen that leaker brought to justice. We also didn't see this leaker, Alexander Vindman. He himself was leaking top secret information between these negotiations that President Trump was having with Zelensky. He was selecting and selectively leaking out information, and even false leaks. He even put out false information, this Alexander Vindman. And he tried to make Trump out to be somebody corrupt and like he was doing corrupt things. And that just wasn't true. Trump hadn't done anything corrupt. Remember, it was a perfect phone call. Perfect phone call. And the people in the government leak all of the time. People within the government leak all of the time. They do it every day. So what's the difference here? It's because this 21-year-old embarrassed them, and he showed the truth about what's actually going on in Ukraine. It's not a war that they are winning. 70,000 soldiers dead on the Ukraine side. 16,000 dead on Russia's side. You tell me who's winning that war. Numbers don't lie. And I keep saying that numbers don't lie. They are not winning this war, and they are funneling money into it because they are lining their own pockets. Joe Biden and General Milley, they read the same briefings they were leaked out, and they're going to sit there and they're going to say, oh, it's all roses, butterflies, and kittens. It's not. They're lying, and people are dying. So what do? They go after the 21-year-old gamer who exposed them because they're embarrassed. More of that ahead, but right now it's time for... It's the Veterans Corner here on Cities 92.9, and on the line with me, Jerry Vogler, the McLean County Veteran Superintendent, the McLean County VA Office Superintendent. So, Jerry Vogler, what are we hitting today?
Oh, we got a couple of things. Importance of the DD-214 for just about every use for a veteran, and then a slightly new fraudster technology. And then there's finally a little short one here on, let's see, what is the subject here? Nursing home care through the VA. So,
okay. Well, let's start with the DD-214 information. It's a certificate of release or discharge from active duty, and this is proof of military service. Can you tell me a little bit about the DD-214 form?
Well, the DD stands for Department of Defense. It has nothing to do directly with the VA. The VA does not keep those records other than for the purposes of determining eligibility for the services and resources that they have. DD-214 is issued at the time that the person separates from active duty, and generally, truth of the matter is, all males over the 18 have a 6-year military requirement, if so called upon to do so by the government. So if a person goes into service for 4 years as an enlistee, even today without the draft, when they get out, they've still got a 2-year military commitment in the reserve or guard units. And that DD-214 becomes very, very important because it establishes entry date and exit date. It also, of course, is the base document for everything associated with the VA. VA health care, burial services, it unlocks all the benefits, VA home loan guarantees, all that sort of stuff. And there is so much information on that if that DD-214 is not kept secure, the veteran could have their identity stolen really, really easily just with that information alone. So DD-214 is important. When a veteran gets out of the service on active duty, they're instructed to take their DD-214 to the recorder's office in the county in which they're going to reside after service and get it recorded, and therefore it'll be certified. That way, if they lose it, can't find it when they need it, they'll be able to go to the recorder's office. If they come to our office, we may have a copy on file already. We have about 7,000 veterans on file with their DD-214s, and we can get that DD-214 for them through the recorder's office too. So we're kind of a funnel point to get that very valid information.
Wonderful. And one thing that I also wanted to hit before asking you, and I do want to ask you about this, Jerry, after we get to the fraudsters have new technology to steal identities. Fraudsters seem to be able to overcome identity theft prevention technology nearly as fast as prevention technology is developed. So there's a lot of fraudsters out there, and I want to get to them. Later in the show, I do want to ask you about this 21-year-old leaker of these briefings. And I want to ask you if that's, if that an Air National Guardsman, in your expertise, if that would be possible for a 21-year-old to get their hands on that sort of intel. Do want to ask you first about the fraudsters having this new technology to steal identity. Tell me about that.
The current fraudster thing is pretty new, but it goes a long line of technological, electronic eavesdropping type of things that fraudsters can do. And of course, it's common knowledge that if you're in an airport or a train station or on a bus with Wi-Fi services, don't use it because if you use their Wi-Fi services, you've opened yourself up to possible hacking and identity theft. However, there's a new cut on this particular issue, and that is apparently now even on an AC circuit hooked into a USB port in an airport where you can get your cell phones and so forth and laptops recharged while you're waiting for your flight. The bad guys have figured out a way to go through that same port that you would use for USB charging of your instrument and download all the information on your phone. That's a big step forward. The key to this thing and not getting hit with that fraud is don't use those services, including charging. You can get what they call a battery bank. They're usually about 4 inches long by an inch square, and you can charge them at your home outlet to carry it with you, and it gives you several hours more of battery time on your electronic devices without having to be exposed to the fraud.
Now, I did want to get to a question here. It says, I am a Vietnam era vet. I'm in my 70s, and it looks like I will need at least assisted living care, and maybe if not now, in the future, will need nursing home care. Is there a veteran-related nursing home in Illinois, and what are the eligibility requirements to gain admission? So you're a vet out there. Listen closely if you are thinking that you are going to need some sort of assisted living care or possibly full nursing home care. Listen up, Jerry Vogler.
Okay, yes, downstate, there are 4 Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs run by the state of Illinois veterans nursing homes. There's one at Manteno, Illinois, which is just north of Kankakee. There's one at LaSalle, about an hour north of here. The large one, which is now reopening after completely being refurbished, is at Quincy, Illinois, which is 2.5 hours southwest. And then there's one clear down on the tip of the state of Illinois at Anna, Illinois, which is a very small one. In addition to that, in North Chicago, a new $175 million facility was just opened, but it's a multi-purpose type facility. It's not only for veterans nursing care, but also there's a homeless apartment complex up there and so forth for homeless veterans and their families. So it is available. You would apply through the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs. There's a representative of VSO, Veteran Service Officer, at the Armory on South Main. The requirements, generally speaking, you, under normal circumstances, you need to be a wartime veteran with an honorable discharge, and there is an income limit on it, on what your income can be and still be admitted. However, it's a fairly high limit. Unlike other places, McLean County Nursing Home, for instance, you're allowed to keep the first amount of money, and then they take everything else basically you got as monthly income. VA is a little bit differently, and the rates are probably less than 1/3 of what it would cost you at any other nursing home in the area. It's really easy to apply for, and admission right now in some of the facilities is less than 6 months. At the Quincy facility, when it gets fully reopened, it'll probably be about 30 days to be able to get into one of those homes.
Thanks, Jerry Vogler, for keeping us up to date here. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you before you go, being that you served in Vietnam, didn't you, Jerry?
Served during Vietnam, did not go to Vietnam.
Okay, during Vietnam. Yeah, and tell us a little bit about your service first before I ask you this question, so that way our listeners know what kind of credit you got.
Okay, I was a draftee, which means I had a 2-year military requirement. Got drafted out of college through an error in transferring schools. Went to basic training, got through basic training, and during that time they requested that I sign up for officer candidate school, which I reluctantly did because I was going to serve for 2 years and get out. Therefore, I ended up going to advanced infantry training at Fort Lewis, Washington. And then I went to officer candidate school in Columbus, Georgia at Fort Benning. The problem there was that my vision isn't all that great. And about halfway through the 23-week course, I found out that I couldn't be commissioned in the combat arms, infantry, artillery, or armor. And therefore, my commission would be very short because as soon as the war ends, those people are usually let go if they're not in the combat arms. So I got out and decided not to become an officer. And as luck would have it, I got assigned to work and then run the message center for the commandant of the Army Infantry School at Fort Benning, a brigadier general and a sergeant major. So I had a really, really good service. And it's one reason why I'm doing this position with the VAC is I owe my fellow veterans who didn't have quite a luck as I did. And therefore, I'm here to help them.
Now, Jerry, I want to ask you this question. This 21-year-old Jack Teixeira, right? He's the one who leaked all of these intel documents, briefings, things like that, that suggest that Ukraine has casualty rates of 70,000 dead to Russia's 16,000. There was a spring offensive. I think that the documents show that that's kind of a joke and that they're not really going forward with that and that it's not really substantial. I think that that's what these briefings are kind of showing. Your insight, this 21-year-old getting his hands on this leak, do you have any insight for us being from a military background? Would he have had information like this being 21 and an Air National Guardsman?
It just depends on his military occupational specialty and where he was assigned. For instance, myself, assigned to the Army Infantry School in their general staff, I had access to everything all the way up through top secret and crypto because it came across my desk and I had to determine where it went within the Army Infantry School. And I was 20 I just barely turned 21 and I got out. As a 20-year-old, whether you're in the Reserve Guard unit or you're in active duty, you're subject to a different military justice than you are in civilian life. This young man, if you look at it just from the military standpoint, he's probably got a half a dozen or more violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is a lot more harsh and a lot more demanding as a soldier than it is under the civilian government. So I don't know what they're going to do with him on the civilian side because of his leak and so forth, but he's in really, really serious trouble because he got that information under a job within the military that required him to be under the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Now, one thing I want to ask you is, is leaking sort of, and if this were all to be proven true, right, what is in these briefings, right, and obviously this is primary documentation, there's briefings here, if you can prove that this is a moral good, is there something that happens as far as whistleblower, whistleblower protection? Is that something Congress can give to him? And I mean, being from your background, is that something that you think that he should have?
Yeah, I think they can give it to him from a civilian standpoint, directly with the government. From the Uniform Code of Military Justice, no, and I'll give you a real brief story here. We had a lieutenant colonel, which worked just down the hall from me, and he was a little bit sloppy with his records. And a janitor came in to clean the building late night, one night, and saw a stack of files on the outbox of this lieutenant colonel. And he noticed that one of them looked like it had a red folder. And he looked it up and it said top secret. He immediately put it down, called the officer of the day. They came up. And within about 48 hours, that lieutenant colonel was gone. And within a month, he was out of the military because he left that top secret material exposed and not locked away. So the military takes their stuff really, really seriously. This is kind of a hybrid because the military problem that he has caused the administration and caused Congress a lot of heartburn because of the type of information that he released.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jerry, we've got to go. And thanks so much for answering my questions. You have a great rest of your day. And folks, that was Veterans Corner. It happens every Monday at 8 a.m. We're changing it up a bit. We're throwing it in the 8 a.m. hour just so that way Jerry's got more time to answer some questions I've got about the war, about the American war effort in Ukraine, and about some things in the news regarding things like this, the 21-year-old gamer leaking out information and embarrassing the hell out of the Biden administration and General Milley for lying. I'll be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz. Okay, yeah. That's Jerry, awesome guy. Giving us the details, and he is saying that this is super uber serious, and I knew it was going to be serious for him. That's why I'm kind of calling on you personally to call Darren the Hood, call your Congress people, and say, hey, you guys should offer him at least civilian whistleblower protection. This whistleblower protection could help him, right? I think either way he has to have some sort of consequence, right, for leaking this information the way he did. But my question is, and throw it in the comments here, and you can help me out, is leaking corruption a moral good? The government's going to come down hard on him, and, I think it's kind of unfair to have somebody like Jack Teixeira here be held accountable to the fullest extent when we don't even know who the Dobbs leaker is. Like, we still don't know who that Dobbs leaker is, and he did effectively the same thing, where he leaked a Supreme Court decision before they came to that decision. And that's not good, right? You can't leak out information like that. Alexander Vindman, another case where he was leaking out top secret information between negotiations with President Trump and Zelensky, and he was selectively leaking out information. He even put out false leaks that tried to make Trump look like he was being corrupt, and he wasn't, right? He hadn't done anything corrupt. It was a perfect phone call. And people within the government leak all of the time. I think that we have a case here where he is not a friend of the regime. And if you are not a friend of the regime, then you get held to a different standard. Um, they've lied about Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, so it doesn't really surprise me that they're lying about Ukraine. But this is a 21-year-old gamer on Discord, and he brought forward the truth. And I think that that deserves some sort of leniency. If you are exposing corruption, I think that he should get some sort of leniency, because you have Joe Biden out there, you have General Milley out there saying that everything's hunky dory in Ukraine, and that they are actually toe to toe with Russia right now, and that but that's not true. None of that's true. It's a sham, and it's a cooked up war so that way they can line their pockets with money. Okay, and then they get all of this money and they send it over to Ukraine, and they're doing that negligently, because if you look at the numbers, and this is just one statistic I've pulled from the briefings itself, 70,000 Ukraine soldiers dead to 16,000 Russian soldiers dead. You do the math. The numbers don't lie, okay? And facts over feelings. Speaking of facts over feelings, I'm very excited for El Donzo to join me on the line. He is hilarious, folks, and I absolutely love El Donzo. El Donzo and D Show, Saturdays from 9 to 11. D's is really funny as well, and they're entertaining. So I did not know this. I saw Michelle. To be honest with you folks, I really don't look too deep into these stories, and I should start doing it, just because it's so, I don't want to say it's common, but it's just like every day there's a pedophile, every day there's a shooting, every day, and this is just happening because there's a rise in crime. Erica Reynolds herself, she said that, she might just be more, like there's a feeling of more crime because she's shifted from her line of work in the Crimes Against Children division into being a state's attorney, and she herself has said that she feels very in tune with everything that's going on as far as the homicide rate and the criminality rates and things like that. So I kind of brushed past these things, and El Donzo shared this out, and I was like, wait a second, this guy is not a woman, and they're calling him Michelle. So I'm going to be back. Hold on, I'm going to pick up the line. Folks, I don't smoke. I don't smoke weed, so I don't know. 309-451-9299. You guys can text in. You can also see me live in the studio. On the line with me, I'm very excited, El Donzo from the El Donzo and D Show. El, are you there?
Thanks. Yep, I'm here. Thanks, Kat. Glad to be on.
I'm excited to have you on, and I didn't even realize this, and you guys can see us live in the studio. You guys can look at the mugshot for yourself, and you guys let me know, is this a man or is it a woman? And somebody texted in today, and they were like, Kat, come on. He's got a 5 o'clock shadow and an Adam's apple, but I just can't believe that the Bloomington Police Department, yeah, sure, the media, they'll call it a woman and blah, 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 but the Bloomington Police Department, they're calling this man Michelle, and it matters because it's a sexual crime. He's got 5 charges against him, 5 counts of predatory criminal sexual assault. The Bloomington police say Michelle Blessant age 33, was indicted this past week, Wednesday, after a lengthy investigation. Bond, $1 million. The story, you shared this out, and you were the one who kind of made me aware that they're calling him Michelle. And I just kind of scrolled past this case, and this is amazing. Your thoughts on this being a woman? Is it a woman? Is he a woman?
Well, this is not a woman. No matter how much lipstick you put on the pig, it's still a pig. This is not a woman. Just to get this out of the way right now, I did find a couple media sites. CI Proud was one of them that actually said Bloomington man arrested. There was a comment on one of these posts my brother let me know. So once again, this isn't confirmed. But one of the commenters, I guess, was a family member of this. What was his real name? James?
James, yep. James Blessant is what his old social media accounts. I don't know if they're new ones, but at least the only social media account that I can find for this person goes by James.
Yes, I guess a family member commented something to the extent of, look, I'm not saying what he did was okay, but if you knew the way he grew up, you'd understand it a little bit better. So obviously this guy came from a bad childhood. Most of these people that do stuff like this. We get that. But even the fact of saying that, I think kind of starts to take away from what he did. And the fact that he's parading himself around as a female, here's the next question, Kat. Is he going to be put in a female prison?
Yeah, that would be my question, is if he's convicted, and folks, he hasn't been convicted yet, but if he's convicted, and this is a lengthy investigation, and I don't think they would charge him if they didn't have substantial evidence of him committing these crimes. Will he be in a female, and will his sentence be laxed because he presents himself as a female, maybe gains sympathy from the judge, if there's a judge out there who sympathizes with this kind of thing, and especially if he's got like some sort of family issues or background, is he going to have a weaker sentence? And being that, even the media is sympathizing with this person and calling him a Bloomington woman, 25 EEK calling it the headline this morning. A woman indicted.
Kat, it's absolutely absurd. Deez and I were talking about this. The thing that frustrates me the most, besides, of course, heinous acts, okay, we get that. But when you see a news story and it says a transgender man or transgender woman, and he's a woman that goes by this name, and you got to do like hours of research to actually figure out the gender, like the Nashville shooter. Mm-hmm. There were so many arguments about is it a man or a woman, and the fact that this is happening locally and they're treating it like this with kids' gloves, I agree, it's absurd.
Yeah, it matters because the way he's committing these crimes, and I don't know the extent of the investigation and what exactly he did. Sexual assault, though, that's using your sex or using somebody else's sex organs, right? That's what the crime is. It has to pertain to that. So it matters if he's a man or if he's a woman.
I guess what I would say, and you let me know if I'm off base with this. This transgender thing. Look, 10 years ago, nobody would have gotten worked up about a drag show. The drag shows were done in clubs. Nobody cared about it. I'd even been to a drag show before. Alcohol was involved. I think I got drug along there. But, hey, whatever, to each their own. This is being weaponized just like BLM was. This is keeping us at a 50-50 constant conflict with the other people in the country. They don't care about the transgender movement. They care about weaponizing it and using something like that to get us to constantly fight. It's like I made a post about the Bud Light thing with Dylan Mulvaney. That's absurd. That's like celebrating Rachel Dolezal's African-American heritage. So I think they're doing it for a reason. I think we're seeing this rise up for a reason. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think there's a reason, and they're constantly trying to divide us. The fact that you've got some news articles saying it's a man, and then other news articles saying it's a woman who's been indicted for these predatory criminal sexual assault charges. There's just clear division, and they're trying to prop up these people as either A, victims, B, heroes in the case of Dylan Mulvaney, or in this case,
exactly.
Right, he's even falling victim to the media, where you've got some calling him a woman, some calling him a man. That in and of itself is going to kind of give way to him being seen as some sort of victim. Look, even the media can't decide on if he's a woman or a man, and what kind of turmoil is he going through? So yeah, and one thing. Sorry, go ahead,
Kat. I was going to make a point to this, and going back 10 years ago, I knew a lot of liberals. I still do. And any one of them 10 years ago would have went, why don't they just call him a man? He's a man. But now these people have been so brainwashed that it's almost like they believe this because they have to fight conservatives because they've been told for so long that 2 + 2 = 5. So now they believe it.
Yeah, they actually believe it. Yeah. Oh, one thing I want to point out on this James Blessant social media, I found this out, profile picture. There's 3 boxes. One says Republican, one says Democrat, another one says Rastafari movement. And I was talking with you about this through the break. The Rastafari movement, I don't know exactly what that is, to be honest with you, and I don't know. So maybe you can help me. Clearly, a niche, extreme political point, or a political movement. I don't know.
I don't know much about the politics. If I don't know something, Kat, I'll just tell you I don't know. Now, I do know what a Rastafarian is. Of course, I'm not a Rastafarian, but the Rastafarians were like the Jamaican. They had the dreadlocks, and yo, man, smoke a ganja, man. Those guys were Rastafarians. As far as the movement, I could only speculate on exactly what that is, but I'm guessing it's probably not a, pillars of society, responsible citizen type movement. That's all I can probably speculate on that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. If your whole thing is ganja and dreadlocks, I don't think that's necessarily, it's fringy, right?
Hey, look, when somebody says they're a member of the Rasta movement, I don't envision them working 60 hours a week to pay their taxes, take care of their kids, and, do good in society. I could be judging a book by its cover here, but I just don't see it, Kat.
Yeah. Well, El Donzo, we've got to take a break. Can you tell me a little bit about your show? And that's brought to you by Envirosil. Tell me about your show and Envirosil.
Yeah, so the show, of course, El Donzo and Dees, catch us every Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on Cities 92.9. And if you haven't heard it, we are the redheaded stepchild of the station. We wear that badge proudly. We cover a lot of national news, sometimes get off in the weeds politically, but we try to bring some fun stories and do some fun stuff in there. And, of course, the humor is pretty bar none, I think. And then Envirosil, our sponsor, I've known the guy that owns the company for years. He does a great job doing slab jacking, lifting up, sucking concrete patios, and also spray foam insulation as well for commercial and residential buildings. So, yeah, he's a sponsor and a dang good sponsor of the show. So, yeah, absolutely. Catch us on Saturday.
Wonderful. El Donzo, you have a great rest of your morning. Appreciate it. Folks, we will be back, and I will be talking with Kevin Woodard from the City's 92.9 newsroom on some local news of the day. That was a local news story El Donzo and I hit together. Very fun. Very fun to talk with El Donzo about these issues and to try to understand what is going on. Why is some central Illinois media reporting it as a Bloomington woman committing or being arrested, indicted on these predatory criminal sexual assault charges, and then others are reporting it as a man who was indicted for predatory criminal sexual assault charges. Your thoughts after seeing the mugshot, man or woman? Let me know on the comments and in the text line 309-451-9299. Good morning, guys. Welcome. We have a couple of texts here that I'll get to. The trans movement is not to keep us fighting, it is to try and accomplish the real leftist goals, which is ultimately leading to the dissolving of the nuclear family as we know it. Yes. If we can't reproduce, then that's that's the whole point, right? I would agree with this texter. Yeah, maybe not. So I think it's a little bit of both to try to divide us and then to also try and dissolve the nuclear family, the traditional family. They don't like that for some odd reason, even though they say that they're totally like all for diversity, man. Anybody, all, everybody. You know, that's a lie. You hate traditionalism and you hate conservatives. And the nuclear family. You're against that. Another story here that I want to get to, the Bud Light controversy, and we're going to be hitting it here with Kevin Woodard. Conservative dad coming out with this new beer. It's from Illinois. He's making it in Illinois, Rock Island, which is a big deal, folks. Illinois getting in on it. Conservative dad, ultra right beer brewed in Illinois. It's called Ultra Right, and it's Seth Weathers. I talked with him a little bit last week, but this is coming from the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light controversy. He sells the beer online to consumers in 42 states currently. So it's interesting because I've talked to beer owners in and around town. They've stopped ordering Bud Light, and they might not have a political reason to stop this, right? They might not be, taking a side on this politically, but the reason why they stopped ordering it was because they're not making money. Like, nobody's ordering a Bud Light when they're out at their bar. Why would you continue to order Bud Light? This is interesting. I've got new developments from the Daily Wire talking about how this was not something that was done at the top. This was a rogue marketing department decision, and they've got the receipts to back that up. Also, Donald Trump Jr. coming out now and saying that we should not boycott Bud Light. I am not going to say that. I am going to say, hey, boycott them because they made a stupid decision in hiring this Alyssa nut. She is a nut. And she's literally on her social media licking a toilet and drinking out of a condom. Like, why would you hire that person as a marketing director? And I don't know. As much lipstick as you put on that pig, there's no way that I would be hiring Alyssa, this woman who was in charge of this decision, to put Dylan Mulvaney as a spokesperson. There's no way that they did not know about this, because it's very clear on her social media where she is at politically. And when you're a boss, I mean, you've got to take that into account. Whenever, and I haven't done much hiring, but whenever I have hired somebody before in the past, interns. I used to work as a director and I am a current director, and I have staff underneath me. And firing, yeah, I have that ability. And you best believe that I check their social medias, check everything, that make sure that they are branding, and we are in a business of branding, and we do this, and I make sure everything is clear and cut, because this is a company, right? And that's how companies run. If there is waves, then you're gone, right? If you are not making us money, then you're gone. But also, this is public info. Like, she put it out there publicly that she was drinking out of condoms. It's like, what? Why would you hire her? So this whole call to stop the boycott from Donald Trump Jr., there's a reason for it, and I'll get into that here right now, and then we'll shift gears, talk with Kevin Woodard from the city's 92.9 newsroom on this local brewery for the Ultra Right beer. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. You can see me live in the studio. I am here on YouTube and on Facebook, and you can comment and you can kind of talk with me. I can interact with you. You also get double the content if you're watching on YouTube, because through the breaks here on the radio, what I'll do is get on and I will give you extra news and extra commentary, and usually I take that time to interact with you. So if you throw in a comment or something like that, real quick, I do want to shout out some of our sponsors. That's the Long Branch again, Deep End Tap at Eastland Suites. We also have all kinds of sponsors. I mean, we've got McLean County Asphalt, we've got EnviroSeal, we've got Living Alternatives, we have Eric's 2 restaurant. They are advertisers of ours. So be sure to support our advertisers, okay? Because here's the thing: we're not NPR, we're not CBS, we don't get government funds. We're not PBS, CBS. Actually, this just in breaking: CBS has been labeled government-affiliated media. We don't get money from the taxpayers, okay? What we do is we actually work our little tails off, and we try to get some advertisers to support what we're doing here, to support the product, which is our entertainment, right? That is our product, and we get our advertisers to support that product and to advertise with us, so that way you patron their establishments. That's the whole setup of what we do here. And the only way that this microphone stays on is if you support our advertisers. So go out, do that, because it matters. And where you spend your money matters. Where you spend your money matters, which brings me to this. This new Bud Light controversy thing. There's new developments coming out now from the Daily Wire, and you guys remember, right? The the famous Kid Rock shooting up the Bud Light cases. This is what it sounded like.
Grandpa's feeling a little frisky today. Let me say something to all you and be as clear and concise as possible.
Blows up the Bud Light. Okay, I wasn't drinking, but I was not drinking Bud Light before it was cool, okay? So I never drank Bud Light, drank Coors Light. I'm also a big whiskey and wine girl, not really a beer drinker. It kind of makes me bloated and fat, and I try not to be fat. Bud Light, there's new things coming out, and I was kind of hesitant to talk about this story with Dylan Mulvaney and the TikToker influencer becoming a spokesperson for this thing. I thought it was a joke. I honestly thought that it was like an April Fool's thing. So I waited to report on it, and I reported on it once it hit mainstream news. But now we've got Daily Wire coming out and providing us a little bit more information about Bud Light, and it suggests that this was totally done by this rogue individual within the marketing department, Alyssa. She made the decision, as she's a woke person. She can be seen on her social media drinking out of condoms, licking toilets, and she said that the reason why she chose Dylan Mulvaney to be a spokesperson for this Bud Light was because she wanted to get away from the fratty nature of the old commercials from Bud Light. And all I've got to say is shame on Bud Light, shame on Anheuser-Busch for hiring idiots like Alyssa. And I'm not going to tell you to stop boycotting Bud Light. I think that we should boycott Bud Light. I will personally never buy the beer again, because if you hire stupid people, then you have to deal with the consequences, right, from hiring those stupid people who make decisions like this. And I get that she was rogue. Nobody at the top really knew this, and that's coming from the Daily Wire folks. The Daily Wire is reporting that Bud Light did not know. And I kept asking myself, why? Why would Bud Light do this? It turns out that they really didn't know. This was their marketing department, and it was a rogue person within the marketing department. Well, it's important to note here that they give Anheuser-Busch 60% of their spending goes towards efforts for right-leaning folks, conservatives. Bud Light also donates to Republicans typically. And this is why people are like, why would Don Jr.? And I know that instantly, I was like, screw Don Jr. I was like, I hate that guy. Like, why in the world would he do this, where he comes out and he says, hey, you guys might want to stop boycotting Bud Light because they make significant donations to Republicans, the GOP. And I was like, screw them. I don't need their money. And that's what I was thinking about with Don Jr. But then you break down the numbers even more. Then you find out that Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch, they're actually good on trade and tariffs. So who does that hurt? That hurts China. And I'm all in. I am very interested in the hurting of China. And, you know, they can't help that they made, or that Alyssa made this decision, the people at the top, but they could have not hired her. And it would have been very easy to find out if she was a wokie, as I like to say, as a leftist. or just a bad person in general. Like, she's drinking out of condoms and licking toilets, and she's got that on her social media. This shows that she has no couth, no class, and no filter. And typically, you don't want those people in a marketing department. But I will say this: Bud Light did not contribute like State Farm did to BLM. State Farm contributed millions of dollars to BLM and to woke causes. Bud Light did not do that. They don't, like I said, 60% of their spending is for right-of-leaning causes. That's over 50%. That's 60% right-leaning causes and Republicans. So at the end of the day, I think what we're doing here with this whole Dylan Mulvaney protesting or boycotting the Bud Light thing, it's checkers. We're not playing chess. But don't get me wrong, guy's a freak. Dylan Mulvaney is a freak. And one thing I also want to say, our villains are their heroes. So every time we say Dylan Mulvaney's name, like, what would happen if we just stopped giving Dylan the attention that he wants? Right? I mean, he would be nothing. He is nothing. He's a TikToker. That's literally how he makes money, is TikTok. So if we just stopped giving him the attention that he wants, then he would literally become obsolete. Nobody would give a darn about this loser, freakazoid. Don't get me wrong, guy's a freak, and I'm not going to be buying Bud Light. So that's my personal decision, because you're an idiot and you hired somebody like Alyssa who made this decision. And yeah, you shouldn't have. Brings me to Kevin Woodard from the city's 92.9 newsroom. He joins me in studio. And if you guys want to see us live in studio and Kevin, then you can tune in via YouTube or Facebook. Now, we do want to share with you this story coming out. I talked extensively with a conservative dad. So, Kevin, tell me about this story a little bit. I know I interviewed him, but you wrote up a story. Tell me about this story and where people can find it.
Yeah, it's on our website and it's on our social media pages. And it does come from your interview. You asked me to write it, and so I did. But what's kind of neat going back and looking over the interview is pulling out some of the better parts of it. And it was pretty cool when Kat was talking with conservative dad who has the new ultra right beer, and his name is Seth Weathers. And one of the great phrases was, he was like, we've got a military base in Florida that wants 10 pallets of this. But he had to say, I can't sell it legally to you right now. So right now he's trying to struggle with distribution. He can sell to people in 42 states by mail. The reason the beer costs a little much, you may have heard that, is because he does have to pay shipping on it. But he's trying to work his way through to all the red tape and what he called the liquor mafia to get his distribution going. And he said, one thing he said was, this sounds Trumpian, but people are literally begging for his product. So it's just an interesting story. When we talk about not only government red tape, but the liquor mafia, there's all sorts of unions involved and everything. And I don't even know if liquor manufacturers can even honestly transport their own stuff or not without having to go through like the transportation industry and the liquor transportation unions and things like that. So it just takes him a while. So he can't get all those pallets down to Florida for those guys just yet, because right now he's limited to selling it pretty much for personal use.
Yeah, and I remember a little bit through this interview, he was talking about state by state. This is where he's going to have to try to work with the state governments, and he's got a guy for that where they work with the legislature to try to get him the liquor license to sell this. So I think that this is a great company. I think that it reflects my values, and I would have a hard time believing that Seth Weathers would hire somebody like an Alyssa. Real quick, a text. Kat, I don't think they would have hired her if she wasn't reflecting values they were okay with. The best evidence I can give is that they have not fired her. If she was rogue, her arse should be gone. It should be gone. Exactly, right? So that's why I'm continuing my boycott, and I'm not listening to Donald Trump Jr. So for those of you who love to say that, oh, you're just a Trumpy and you can't make up your mind for yourself. Yeah, no, that's not true. There's things that I don't like that Donald Trump did. He campaigned, actively spoke positively about the vaccine. Another example here, Don Trump Jr. saying, oh, we're getting money from them. Well, we should probably not boycott them. Yeah, that might be true. I don't know. Maybe the left is playing some chess in that they orchestrated this whole thing with Dylan Mulvaney to get us outraged about it, so that way we would actually hurt Bud Light, who is good on trade, good on tariffs, and if they're good on trade and tariffs, they're actually hurting China by that. So maybe they're playing some sort of 4D chess with us right now and trying to get us to boycott Bud Light, because Bud Light is actually a monetary friend of ours. However, if they wanted to make a good statement, they should fire this Alyssa woman for putting Dylan Mulvaney out there in a dress. I mean, he was in a bathtub with bubbles in this. Like, I don't even think he was in a dress for this particular advertisement. I think he was naked. I can't remember. I'd have to look back, or like in a swimsuit or something, because he was in a bubble bath drinking Bud Light. Gross, just gross. And somebody needs to be fired for this. If she truly was acting rogue, then they should fire this person, or she should have never been hired. I don't know how you did not check out her social media, but if you were to just comb through her social media, just comb through it a little bit, you would see that this person probably doesn't reflect your values, and you probably shouldn't hire that person. Just saying, right? I mean, technically you can't discriminate, but like, also you don't have to hire somebody if they're chugging beer out of a condom on their social media, right? That would deter me from me hiring that person. So I don't know. The interesting story, and it's an Illinois story, folks, so it's local. On the other side, we're going to continue our conversation with Kevin Woodard from the city's 92.9 newsroom. There is a story that I want to get to. It's about James. Oh wow, we're at 8:58. Oh, just kidding. We are up to the end of the show. We won't get to this story, but you can read all of our stories on cities929.com. All right, that's going to wrap up the show here for our Monday. I'll see you again tomorrow morning on the Morning Buzz. Be sure to like, share, subscribe to our channels. Bye-bye. I love you.